So at first, I will give the common part between Japan and Singapore, and then introduce Japan-specific information from me. After that, I will hand over to Aster. Detailed information regarding the call can be found on the official JST and Aster websites. These pages include the grant guidelines, application forms, and contact information. Please ensure you consult both sites carefully as they contain country-specific instructions. For this joint call, a unified set of guidelines and a joint application form have been prepared. These common documents ensure consistency and fairness between both countries. However, both JST and ASTER have additional national requirements such as supplementary forms and eligibility checklists. Each team must comply with both the joint and country-specific guidelines during the application process. The submission process is fully bilateral. That means identical copies of the joint application form must be submitted to JST via ERADO and ASTER via iGrants, respectively. If a proposal is submitted to only one side, it will be deemed ineligible. Additionally, please note that both PIs must submit country-specific appendix. Please take note of the key deadlines. Submission deadline is Wednesday, July 30 at 1 p.m. in Japan time, noon in Singapore time. The selection results are expected between December to January, and projects are scheduled to begin in next April. The project duration is 3 years. We expect PIs to read their proposed research throughout the period. Up to 10 projects will be granted. It might be decreased depending on the number of applications. Funding is up to 30 million yen as direct expenses from JST and up to 350,000 Singapore dollars from Aster, inclusive of indirect expenses for the Singapore side. The total amounts of funding are nearly equal. This joint call focuses on research into fundamental quantum sciences and/or cutting-edge quantum technologies with tangible industry. Proposals are recommended to focus on the one or more of the subtopics here. The first one is quantum computers and quantum simulations, including quantum classical hybrid solutions, quantum software, and quantum computing. The second one is quantum info communications, including quantum internet, quantum memory, encrypted communication, and quantum information theory. The final one is quantum sensing, including solid-state quantum sensors and quantum optical sensors. On the application form, please select the subtopics you propose. These are recommended, but you can also write other subtopics here. Proposals will be evaluated based on the PI's capability, expected scientific result, societal and economic impact, synergy from the national collaboration, and feasibility and alignment with the grants in research field. Please refer to the section 9.2 of the application guidelines to check detailed description like here. We move on to the Japan-specific information. JST supports this joint call under the NEXUS program. So NEXUS is a networked exchange united strengths for stronger partnerships between Japan and ASEAN. So NEXUS fosters flexible and multi-layered cooperation in science and technologies between Japan and ASEAN. It promotes international research, researcher exchange and development, especially this Japan and Singapore joint call focus on these parts, international joint research and researcher exchanges. Okay, to be clear researcher eligibility, the common conditions are written here. Two identical copies of the proposal must be submitted to both JST and ASTER, as I mentioned before. And the research duration must be 36 months, means 3 years. In addition to the common conditions, The PI and co-PIs must be affiliated with a domestic Japanese research institution that is registered with ERADO. Institution must also complete the necessary checklists via ERADO. The PI must complete a certified ethics training program before applying. A PI can submit only one proposal under this goal. However, they can participate as a co-PI in other proposals. We only accept proposals from ERADO system. Japanese applicants must prepare two key documents. The first one is a joint application form shared with the Singapore side. The second one is a Japanese appendix that includes research title, participant's name, and abstract in Japanese, and disclosure of other funds, ethical compliance items like IP, genetic resources, personal data, and so on. A signed confirmation form from the head of the PI's institution. So for university, this must be signed by the university president, not the department dean. JST provides up to 30 million yen as direct expenses. Of this, approximately 30%, it's around 9 million yen, should be allocated to exchange activities such as sending researchers abroad, organizing joint workshops, and attending international conferences. Indirect expenses can also be claimed capped at 30% of the total direct expenses. Eligible items include personnel, equipment, travel, and like a usual funding system, and also administrative costs that includes administrative staff who coordinate exchange activities. This is specific to international NEXUS program. On the budget sheet, please clearly distinguish expenses allocated for exchange activities. In the example shown here, 30% of total funding has been allocated to exchange activities. These includes researcher mobility hosting event, as I mentioned before. Clear planning and justification of these costs will be an important aspect of evaluation. Please allow me to explain team structure. This is frequently asked from Japanese applicants. Co-PI is not required. Proposal by only the PI's group are also acceptable. If you want to allocate funds to researchers who are affiliated with different institutions than the PI's institution, like institution B, you need to set them up as a co-PI. It is possible to designate a co-PI from the same institutions, but this should only be done in case where the co-PI needs to have a separate contract, such as one leading a research group for the proposed project. It is not recommended to designate a co-PI from the same division as a PI, of course, same laboratory. It is recommended to designate a collaborator or participant rather than co-PI from the same department, division, laboratory as a PI. Japanese applicants must submit all materials through ERADO online submission platform. Both the joint application form and the Japan-specific appendix must be uploaded. Please follow the ERADO manual closely to avoid errors during submission. Late submission or incomplete entries will not be accepted. Please take care of the ERADO manual also. Critical requirements for all applicants, PIs and co-PIs, is the completion of the research integrity reporting. Please make sure this is completed before final submission. Please refer to the ERADO manual for more details. Also, the duration must be 2026 to 28. We don't require you to fill details on the ERADO system about the objective and abstract. So just write this word, 提案書参照, on the form. And you don't need to upload those kind of files. Our requirements are only joint application proposal and Japanese appendix. For further inquiries on the Japan side, please contact the JST Nexus. Okay, then let me hand over to Esther.
So I'll just go through some information specific to Singapore. I won't talk about the common eligibilities because it was already discussed previously. But for Singapore, please ensure that all the PIs, their primary appointment has to be 75% or more in a locally publicly funded research institution. So just to make sure that you need to have endorsement by your host institution before submission. So it is actually part of the application forms. And also, please read through the grants, T's and C's and guidelines because there's a lot more information there. And as mentioned previously, all applications have to be submitted through iGrants. And there's also different appendixes that you have to attach together with your proposal itself. So for example, we have the budget milestones and KPIs template. That's a very important part of your submission package as well. So I'll take you through the funding and eligible costs. So in total, the funding is 350,000 Singapore dollars. This is inclusive of indirect expenses. So the indirect expenses is 30% of your direct expenses. So both has to add up to 350K or less, right? So there's also non-fundable items. So for example, like the salaries of the lead PIs, undergraduate stipends, stipend top-ups, audit legal fees. So a whole list of the non-fundable items are actually in the application guidelines. However, please note that it is a non-exhaustive list. So in the future, we will, if your proposal gets awarded, we will scrub through your budget and let you know what exactly will not be able to be funded. Yeah, but usually the ones which are eligible to be funded are the usual stuff, like your manpower, labor costs, equipment, materials, consumables, and travel costs. So these are also reflected in the budget template, the external template that you also have to fill up. So for your budget description, this is part of actually the submission package itself, the joint application form. So like I mentioned, there's the different votes and for the different years throughout the 3-year project. So please also ensure that you have done your proper planning because this is what we will get the teams to adhere to as closely as possible throughout the 3 different years. So please take into consideration the amount of time that you would need to source for your manpower, to procure your equipment and things like that, right? Okay, so this is specific to Singapore applicants only because this is in the additional template, the budget milestone and KPIs template. So if you download it off the funding opportunities page, you will see the Excel sheet and a tab on the budget justifications where you have to justify each vote. So just to make sure that you have to be very clear and very comprehensive about the justifications for each line item. So each line item, if you are unfamiliar with this process, you will have to describe the description of each vote. Please do try to be more comprehensive. More information is always better than a lack of information. Yeah, so for example, you have to describe the duties of the manpower of the labor cost that is going to be funded by this project. Basically the duties, how many FTE and so on and so forth. Also for the OOE expenses, like for example, even for your consumables, it's also best to let us know what exactly are the types of consumables, what it's for, the use of those consumables, and then also for like any equipment maintenance and so on and so forth. What equipment is that used for and why does it have to be maintained? Yeah, or what types of maintenance it's going to have. Yeah. And then for your travel vote, of course, it's best to let us know what is it that you are going to go for, whether it's like for an international conference or whether it's to do on-site research in Japan with your colleagues, who will be there, whether it's the lead PI or your collaborators and so on and so forth. Okay, so for more information, there's a lot of external documents that you can read through on our funding opportunities page on the A-Star website. So yes, please read through all of those. Any other questions? Please do submit to the OGA_BYLETS email. and then my colleagues from the Office of Grant Administrations will respond to you.